on this week's edition of the CFL Report. The highlights of Week 2 in Canadian football. Another chapter in Peter Watt's CFL notebook. And in close-up, Eskimo veteran Bill Stevenson. TSN CFL Report. It's our game around here, brought to you by Carling O'Keefe Brewery. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the CFL Report on TSN. The second week of the season is complete. The Blue Bombers are hot. So are the Eskimos and the BC Lions. The Lions won 2 games in 74 hours. The Eskimos won the Grey Cup rematch, and the Bombers took over sole possession of top spot in the Eastern Division with a convincing victory over Ottawa. Here's how they stack up in the East after 2 weeks. It's the Bombers perfect at 2-0, Ottawa even at 1-1, and the Argos with a tie after 2 games for a single point, with the Tiger Cats winless. They're last in the East and last overall in the CFL. Little surprise in the West, it is the Lions and the Eskimos tied atop the standings with perfect records. Calgary is next at 1-2, and Saskatchewan 1 tie and 1 point after 3 games. A closer look at the week just passed in highlight form, and Leif Pedersen with a preview of what's ahead later in the show. First, though, another chapter from Peter Watt's CFL notebook.
Thank you, John. It has been a very busy 3 days since the end of the second week of play in the Canadian Football League. 1 head coach has resigned, 2 quarterbacks have been injured, several players have changed teams, and oh yes, Saskatchewan defensive tackle James Curry is back in the CFL doghouse. Monday afternoon, Jackie Parker surprised nearly everybody by resigning as the Eskimos head coach. A stomach ulcer has chased Parker away from the game he's been a part of in Canada for more than 30 years.
Well, it is, and I'm kind of thinking that, by helping around with Frank and doing some things with Coach Farragelli, and I think it'll make it a lot easier because I plan on still coming around and seeing everybody occasionally. So I think that'll make it easier.
No Grey Cup as a coach?
Well, maybe not, but I told them I still expect to get a ring, and they all agree with that.
His successor is former Eskimo assistant Joe Farragelli, who lost his job 2 weeks ago when the Montreal Alouettes folded.
Had it been any other organization, I don't know if I'd have gone, except that when Huey called and said he talked to the people in the organization and they thought, that's the way to go. And I was packing to, 1 week I'm packing to go play, and they tell me there's no game, and then I was packing to go on holidays. And then Huey said, you have to make the trip. And I said, well, I don't have to do anything, And then he laid it on me, and I said, fine. I unpacked the bag and told my wife, you go, and you go to Rhode Island, and I'm going to Edmonton, and so that's the way it is.
Elsewhere, the Argonauts, who need a Canadian in their defensive secondary with Cliff Hewitt out of the lineup, dealt linebacker Matt Finley to Calgary for safety Rick Ryan. Both players previously played for Montreal. Finley's spot will be taken by Shenley Award nominee Willie Pless, who will come off the injury list to play Saturday in Ottawa. Finley should help the Stampeders, who've been particularly vulnerable against the run. The Argos also picked up cornerback Darnell Clash from BC. While Clash's biggest profile is as a punt returner, the Argos need help on pass defense, and they hope that Clash can play a cornerback spot and maybe return the odd kick as well. Week 2 was costly for quarterbacks. Hamilton's Ken Hobart will miss the next 6 weeks with a broken leg. He was hurt while running toward the end zone in Sunday's game against the Eskimos. And John Kangemi was the victim of a head slap by Saskatchewan's James Curry Saturday night in Regina. Kangemi will miss 3 weeks with a neck injury, and the Argonauts have asked the league to take action against Curry. The CFL is fined Calgary wide receiver Larry Willis $2,500 for pushing an official during the Stampeders season opener. League Commissioner Doug Mitchell says it's the largest fine ever against a player for an on-field incident. Willis has 11 catches for 204 yards this year. A couple of milestones to keep an eye on this week, both of them involving Brian Kelly. He needs 2 touchdown catches to tie Tommy Scott's all-time CFL record of 88 touchdown receptions. And Kelly also needs just over 200 yards in pass receiving to pass the 10,000-yard career receiving barrier. He'd be the 3rd CFL player to reach that goal. I'm Peter Watts. That's CFL Notebook.
More from Peter's notebook on our next edition. Lots of points racked up in the CFL scoreboards on the weekend. Coming up, the game highlights from Week 2 in Canadian football. Again, you're with the CFL Report on TSN. A little later, the stars of Week 2, but right now, game highlights. After a surprise victory over the Ticats in Week 1, the Ottawa Rough Riders were jolted back to reality when they met the Blue Bombers Friday in Winnipeg.
You can't expect to make a steady dive.
Willard Reeves was ready for this one, and the Bombers were hot. Good second effort for Reeves on this carry from the 3.
Clemens hands off Reeves, left side.
Winnipeg into a 13-7 lead after 1 quarter. Dean Dorsey does his thing with 3 consecutive field goals for Ottawa in the second, and the Rough Riders are back on top 16-13.
Right through there.
But the Bombers have so many weapons, and it's almost impossible to stop them. Tom Clemens hot, connecting with 1986 Shenley winner James Murphy. A 32-yard touchdown the result, and Winnipeg led 21-16 at the half.
He's getting too old.
Third quarter, Bombers leading 24-16 when Reeves busts one loose, a 41-yard gallop to the end zone. Reeves finished the day 203 yards on 27 carries. Tom Clements also a solid performance. Clements good on 16 of 29 for 228 yards and 2 touchdowns. Winnipeg definitely the team to beat in the East. They demolished the Ottawa Rough Riders 51-24.
Decoy Tommy Williams, the corner, came back for the ball, and the Bombers add 6 more.
Saturday at Taylor Field, the Argos and the Rough Riders, both teams looking for their first win of the season. Rookie John Conjemi to slot back Darrell Smith for the only touchdown of the first half, 48 yards. The Argos out in front 7-6 at the intermission. Another impressive freshman for the Double Blue, Gil Finnerty. Gil the Thrill takes this one 28 yards, and the Argos up their lead to 14-6. Toronto led 26-9 in the 4th and looked to have things all wrapped up, but Tom Burgess comes off the bench for Saskatchewan and fired a 62-yard bomb to Todd Brown. Just 57 seconds later, Conjemi's pass picked off by Glenn Suter. Good blocking on the return as Suter weaves his way 56 yards to the end zone. The Rough Riders had a field goal, and the Argos and Riders are headed for overtime. But there was controversy on the interception. James Curry takes this shot at Conjemi. Bad news for the Argos. He'll be gone for at least 3 weeks. In overtime, Tony Johns puts the Argos on top first extra period with a run up the middle. But the Riders come back in the second overtime period as Burgess finds Tron Armstrong from 12 yards away. That ties it at 33. Saskatchewan a chance to win late in the game as Dave Ridgway kicks wide, looking for the single point, but Paul Tripoli gets it out of the end zone. The Argos blow a 15-point lead and have to settle for a tie. Finally, to Sunday's game, a Grey Cup rematch between the Eskimos and the Tiger Cats. Damon Allen fills in for the injured Matt Dunnigan at quarterback. And the Eskimo offense never skipped a beat. Allen for Brian Kelly. 97 yards on this pass and run. Edmonton on top, 8-0 early in the first. The Ticats almost back to even 2 minutes later as Allen's pass is batted up, then intercepted by defensive tackle Mike Walker. Walker rumbles 37 yards for the touchdown to cut the Eskimo lead to a point, 8-7. Most exciting play of the game didn't count. Henry Williams on Bernie Rohoff's punt return. An electrifying run up and over, and Williams, who'd had 2 the week before, shows his stuff once more. The bad news, this one is called back for illegal use of hands. An injury to Ken Hobart forced third stringer Tom Porras into action. His first play, a 6-yard TD toss to Steve Stapler. Porras excited about that despite the fact that Hamilton trailed 29-14 at the half. Porras did contribute a couple of fourth quarter touchdowns, but the Ticats fall short, losing 36-33. So the Eskimos get a little revenge for last November's Grey Cup embarrassment, but victory this time is only worth a couple of points. The Tiger Cats still have CFL bragging rights, even though they are winless so far in 1987. Right now, the TSN Stars of the Week, and a tough choice in Week 2.
Sandusky has 4.5 speed, and Don
BC slotback Jim Sandusky led a host of Lion players who had a great day against the Stampeders. The 4-year veteran from San Diego State hauled in 8 passes for 156 yards and had the Stamp secondary reeling all afternoon.
Stop. Oh, he's
Friday night in Winnipeg, the spotlight shining brightly on halfback Willard Reeves of the Bombers. Reeves almost unstoppable. He rushed 27 times for 203 yards against Ottawa.
He's to the 30. And still going down.
Backup quarterback Tom Burgess gets the nod from Saturday's game against Toronto. Burgess came off the bench for Saskatchewan to complete 17 passes for 248 yards as the Riders came back and tied the Argo. From Sunday's Eskimo Ticat contest, Edmonton quarterback Damon Allen. Allen completed 16 passes for 381 yards and added a 40-yard touchdown of his own as the Eskimos downed the Tiger Cats in Hamilton. Still ahead, TSN's Canadian Star of the Week, and coming up, profiles on 2 Canadians, 1 rookie, 1 longtime veteran. Stay with us. Welcome back to the CFL Report. Still to come, Leif Pedersen picks the Week 3 winners. Right now, TSN's Canadian player from Week 2.
The 4-yard line. That'll be a gain of...
Honorable mention to Winnipeg's Pat Cantner. The 5-year veteran from UBC caught 1 pass for 7 yards, but more importantly, made many of the key blocks that allowed Willard Reeves to have such a great day. Reeves rushed for 203 yards behind the blocking of Pat Cantner. This week's co-winners, a pair of BC linebackers, John Ulmer and Kevin Konar. Filling in for the injured Glenn Jackson, Ulmer made 4 tackles, intercepted a pass that he returned for 24 yards, and even recovered a fumble. Ulmer turned the fumble into a touchdown. The North Dakota grad turned in several other great defensive plays as the Lions trounced the Stampeders. Konar's performance equally spectacular. The 8-year veteran from UBC contributed 5 tackles, a sack, and recovered 2 fumbles, 1 for a touchdown. Kevin Konar and John Ulmer, TSN's Canadian players of Week 2.
the Calgary wide receiver.
No question about it, the secret to success in Canadian football is directly proportionate to Canadian stars. The Stampeders feel they have a young man who will fit that mold one day. He's rookie runner Andy McVeigh, and he's already made a name for himself in Calgary.
Andy McVeigh is a player to watch. The Calgary Stampeders' second-round draft pick, 14th overall, has proven that he wants to play football. After a solid performance in exhibition and a promising start in the regular season, McVeigh has caught the eye of the critics and the coaches.
We don't hesitate playing him either at fullback or tailback. He's a pretty good running back. So we're very pleased. He was a second-round pick, and both our number 1 and number 2 made the team. You know, Romano and McVeigh, and we're really pleased at both young men. And Andy is, you know, he's going to get even better. We were all very pleased at his performance during exhibition, and he'll be playing more.
McVeigh never thought he'd be playing in the CFL. He started out in soccer, but made the switch to football when he was 16. He played for the University of Toronto and majored in forestry.
My grandfather was in forestry, and so that's what I wanted to get into. I could have gone to UBC or University of Toronto to get into forestry. And Toronto was a hometown then, and it had a good forestry program, a good football program.
It proved to be the winning combination. McVeigh became the main offensive threat of the Varsity Blues. The two-time MVP and the All-Star caught the eye of Calgary, but they had their reservations. It looked like McVeigh couldn't block, but he came into camp and showed them that he could.
We found that out about the second practice, I guess. The offensive coaches were standing there, and we watched him hit up inside on a lead play for Gary Allen. He put the linebacker down. It wasn't very pretty. His technique wasn't excellent, but he wasn't afraid to get his nose dirty. And when we saw that, we kind of grinned and said he can block. All we have to do is teach him a little different technique work. And he's okay.
The switch from the U of T to the CFL hasn't been easy. In fact, at times, it's been downright rough.
It was a challenge at first because players are a lot bigger, a lot stronger, and a lot faster. And it really is just a perspective sort of thing. Your eyes have to get used to it, and your body has to learn how to react quickly to different things. But In a hole, you really don't get hit any harder, and the guys in front of you are just as quick and strong and make holes quicker. It wasn't too much of a change, but it definitely it took my licks and bumps and bruises.
As a rookie on the sidelines, McVay is learning to be patient, but he's always ready. He wants to be out on the field.
Oh, I'd rather be starting, but Tim Petros and Gary Allen are both playing well, and as a rookie, especially Canadian rookie, it takes a little bit of time to adjust to professional level. And I'm just waiting any time on that bench with my helmet strapped on, ready to get in there. But now I'm really a specialty team player, and that's what I give them 100% at.
The future looks pretty promising for Andy McVay. In the summer and fall, there's a promising football career here in Calgary. In the off-season, there's the Rocky Mountains and all those trees. That's enough to make any forestry graduate from the University of Toronto a very happy person. Teresa Hergert for the CFL Report in Calgary. John?
Andrew McVay finds a home in Calgary. Still ahead, the story of the Eskimos' Big Bill Stevenson. He's been at home in Edmonton for years. Right now, an update from Hamilton. The Grey Cup champs are off to a sluggish start. Last-minute heroics didn't pan out Sunday, and the Cats are now winless in 2 games.
Personalities and tradition help to define the rivalry two teams can develop. Edmonton Eskimos, with their blitzkrieg-style offense, have dominated the Hamilton Ticats in recent years. The Eskimos had won 10 straight league games coming into Sunday's contest in Hamilton, and yet one game changed the relationship between these two teams.
Dunnigan was hit from behind. The ball comes loose. And Hamilton has recovered at the 35.
The Ticats completely shut down the Eskimos last November in the Grey Cup game in Vancouver. 39-15 the final score. 7 months later, the Eskimos professed no interest in wreaking revenge when the two clubs met again.
If we start thinking about the Grey Cup too much, it'll affect us in what we're trying to get done the next 2 weeks. So we're just going about it as another game, and Hamilton is a good team. We have to go out and play our best football.
But in the Hamilton camp, there are signs that the rivalry is taken more seriously.
Beating them in the Grey Cup is going to sort of create a little bit more of a rivalry, and you know, as long as we are dominant and the Edmonton team is dominant, you're going to develop a rivalry, and I think that's what it's all about.
What makes a good rivalry, Paul?
Well, I think it's just a matter of two good football teams getting maybe a little bit of a hate on for each other, to know that there's never ever going to be anything easy, knowing probably down the line that if we play as well as we did last year, we might be meeting them again in the Grey Cup, and those are the type of things that sort of get the blood going.
One man who knows all about Eskimo Ticat football is offensive tackle Bill Stevenson. He's the subject of Ken Chillibeck's TSN profile.
Thanks, Peter. When you talk about veterans on the Eskimos lineup, the first area you look at is their offensive line, led by the elder statesman Bill Stevenson. This year, the 35-year-old Stevenson is back in his familiar position as offensive tackle. He missed all of last season with a broken leg.
It's probably one of the most difficult things I've ever done. I couldn't come to the stadium before the games. I was just too tense. And it was really bad when I went to the Grey Cup. Had to watch the guys do everything and couldn't do anything, and probably one of the most frustrating times of my entire life.
Bill spends his time off the field selling new homes. He enjoys his job and is doing well at it, but business has not always been good. A few years ago, he declared bankruptcy after some business ventures failed.
It got pretty stiff there for a while. I had to give up my house and cars and the whole thing. I've been working my butt off lately, and I'm getting back into the swing of things. I got a house again and bought my wife a car, and starting to get right back into the old debts that I used to have.
When Bill was out of the lineup last season, a lot was said about him. That he was overweight, that at 35 he would never play football again.
It's sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you're not good enough to be here, you won't be here. And that's the way I'm taking it right now. I'm just going gung-ho at it, and let the coaches make the decisions as it goes, because there's nothing I can do about it except play the best I can.
Ken Chillibeck in Edmonton for CFL Report.
So Big Bill is back, and it's making a difference to the Eskimos along the offensive line. Leif, how difficult is it to come back after a year away when you're 37 years of age?
Well, John, it's tremendously difficult, but I think the fact that he's an offensive lineman is probably the easiest spot on a team to come back, and Big Bill's got the good upper body strength and the experience factor. it's a remarkable comeback, but I think for a guy like him, it wasn't that difficult.
And when you really look at it, that was the difference in Grey Cup '86 in Vancouver, that offensive line against the Ticat defense.
Oh, yeah, the front four Hamilton, they just ate them up. And this year, it wasn't the case last Sunday. Damon Allen was able to have some time to throw. And if Edmonton is going to make a run at it, that offensive line has to stay healthy.
Make a run at it. They're unbeaten, 2-0.
Oh, you're such a homer for Edmonton. I can't believe it. BC's 2-0. A couple of hammer jobs on Saskatchewan and Calgary. They're looking awfully tough in the West.
Could be a good finish in the CFL West this year. The race for top spot paramount right now. Just 3 games this week, and Leaf will pick a few winners when we return. Welcome back to the CFL Report on TSN. Time to pick a few winners and check out Leafs' record over 2 weeks of predictions. You're not doing badly.
Not too bad. 9 games, 7-1-1. The one loss, it's my own fault.
You went with your heart.
Oh, I picked Saskatchewan at home in the opener, and Calgary was a better club, but I said, I'll go with my heart, and I lost.
Only a 1-point decision there. Now, the other game last week, you didn't exactly call for a tie.
Well, no, I was 3-0-1 last week, the tie, and once again, it's Toronto's fault. They shouldn't have let Saskatchewan get back in it. I would have had a win, but Obi,
not doing bad. We'll figure out the percentage a little bit later on and let you know. All right, Calgary, Winnipeg, Friday night. How do you see this one? Those Stampeders did not look good last
I'll tell you, if I was Bob Vespasiani, I would stay in Calgary, save the aggravation, and just mail them the 2 points.
No chance for the Stampeders in this one?
No, no chance. You know, if Rick Johnson plays well, he didn't play well last week against BC, but if he has any kind of a game, they can keep it close. But boy, Winnipeg's too tough.
Timing seemed to be one of Johnson's problems, but I also think that the arm is bothering him, his shoulder's bothering him a little bit.
I don't know, John. I haven't talked to him about that. I really don't know how bad the shoulder is, but I just thought for his first game of the season, he missed the first couple, and then to have to play against BC's defense, who are dominating everybody, it was just too tough a task.
So how do you see this one when we put the X's up on the board? It's Winnipeg all down the right-hand side, rushing, passing. Well, of course, Clements is having a great start. Front 7. Secondary and special teams, all to the Blue Bombers.
Yeah, just put the 2 in the win column right now.
All right, and it counts in the Eastern Division this year as far as the Bombers are concerned. Now to Saturday, the Argos fit to be tied in Saskatchewan last weekend. How do they stack up against the Ottawa Rough Riders?
This is a pretty good matchup. In fact, I think maybe the best matchup of the weekend because the teams are pretty even. Now, rushing, I like Toronto because of Gilda Thrill. He's did not have the great yardage total last week in Saskatchewan, but that one run he made for the touchdown, 28 yards, I believe, was just super. Give them the X there.
All right, let's look at how they'll stack up. Toronto at Lansdowne Park in Ottawa. Give it to the Argos in rushing, the Rough Riders in passing, obviously for receivers like James Hood and Mark Lewis.
And also the fact that John Kangemi, who's looked so good for Toronto in their 2 games, will not play. He's out for a couple of weeks, so the X goes over to Ottawa.
Now to the Sunday matchup, and this is a rematch. This time at Commonwealth Stadium, the Eskimos and the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Can the Tiger Cats win in Edmonton?
I don't think so. I can't remember when they've ever won in Edmonton. That's a tough place for them to play. And although as we move to the categories, I'm going to give Hamilton a 3-2 edge. I gave them an edge last week, but I still think Edmonton has those intangibles that will win.
So you like the Eskimos for the rushing game and for the passing game, and the Hamilton Tiger Cats, that tough defense still.
Well, they've got a tough defense. They weren't too tough last week, but I mean, personnel-wise, and that's how I'm basing my picks, personnel-wise, they're pretty good. Special teams, I like Bernie Ruoff. I know you kind of disagree with me on that.
No, I don't mind Bernie. I think Bernie's fun.
Yeah, but you like the gizmo, and you figure the X should be over there. Gizmo, Gosmo, I don't know. They're going to win anyway. Doesn't matter.
Let's take a look at it. The Eskimos will win this game, according to Leif Pettersson. And the Tiger Cats defense will make it rather interesting. So we'll be back next week to check out how you did. You're having a pretty good year.
So far, so good.
So far. That wraps it up for this edition of the CFL Report. We have a week off. Our next telecast on TSN a week Thursday as the Bombers and the Stampeders get together at McMahon Stadium in Calgary. Join Leif and I for that live on TSN and back here next week for the CFL Report. Thanks for watching.
TSN CFL Report. It's our game around here, brought to you by Carling O'Keefe Brewery.